how you present yourself, what you wear, how you show up, how you prepare, how you follow up. All of those things are 100% within your control. Proper etiquette is knowing which fork to use, but good manners is not pointing out when someone else doesn't know. It changed my thinking about how we deal with the problem of addiction, how we think of other people and how we think of their challenges. This is a disease. This is not a moral failing. This is something that we need to treat as a health crisis and not judge people in the process.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the great work of your life. I'm here today with Liz Bryant, the president and founder of Liz Bryant businessetiquette.com. Welcome, Liz.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
I have to say, for those listening or watching, you must follow Liz Bryant, Lizbryant, on LinkedIn for Winning Wednesday Business Etiquette Tip.
So the Winning Wednesdays I have been doing for probably about a year and a half, 2 years now. And I was looking for a way to have something quick and easy for people to view that would be of value to them. And I thought, all right, what's something catchy? Winning Wednesday. Okay, it's middle of the week, Winning Wednesday business etiquette tip. So I offer tips on everything from when you approach a doorway, who goes first, to what to wear in certain situations, to thank you notes, all sorts of things. And I like to end them with, and remember, let's be civil out there. Happy Wednesday. Because I think it's important to remind people to be civil, especially these days when there's so many things that can get on your nerves and put you in a less than stellar mood, shall we say. And if you really think about being civil to other people, it's good for them, it's good for you too.
Absolutely. Well, let's dive in. So, First two questions, and I'm really anxious to hear your answer to the second part of this question. So it's two-part. So Liz, what gives you energy, and what drains your energy, and/or what's one of your greatest pet peeves? We're asking the business etiquette expert about her pet peeves. So
there you go. So what gives me energy? I love being in front of an audience and sharing information. I am one of those rare people that goes to Toastmasters because I like public speaking. Most people in my Toastmasters club are there because they hate public speaking or they're afraid of public speaking. I am just the opposite. I truly love it. I'm an introvert. So if you plop me down in the middle of a cocktail party, I'm not going to be very comfortable. But if you put me up on a stage talking about etiquette and answering questions from the audience, I'm really in my element. So that really gives me energy, and seeing the reaction from my audience as well, knowing that the information that I'm sharing with them, they are finding to be of value. So that gives me energy. What sucks my energy and my biggest pet peeve is people consistently not being on time. Now, certainly things are going to happen. Every now and then, you're going to sleep through the alarm clock, or things just aren't going right. And of course, that happens to everyone. That happens to me. But it's those people who consistently just say, oh, I can never be on time. Well, yes, you can if you put some into it. And I get annoyed with people who are consistently late because I think it sends the message to everybody else that they may not mean it this way. And I certainly don't think it's their intent, but it sends the message that they don't have respect for other people's time. And I think if they thought of it in those terms, they would make more of an effort to be on time. Because again, I don't think that anyone intends to do that. But too many people just brush it off as, oh, I can't be on time. Well,
yeah, right. Exactly. And I think we talked about this. Some of the greatest feedback that I've ever received in my professional career when I was the CEO of North America for a British company, we did 360-degree reviews. The British team, actually it was 7 different countries, the U.S. team, and the feedback that I got was very positive. And I was very proud of the feedback that I received as a leader. But there was this one piece of feedback that really, really stuck with me. And someone had said, wonderful things, but said, And but there's one thing about her is she's always a little late for meetings.
Oh, I'm sorry. I wouldn't have said that.
No, not at all. What's great about it was true. It's true because I was so backed up with meetings. I would book them back to back to back to back. I would always be 1 or 2 minutes late for a meeting. Not that I was anal about time. It really bothered me. And I said to myself, that's something I can change.
You can.
So
you can fix that.
Factoring in buffers. And I noticed that that's something that you talk about too in terms of etiquette, is that etiquette is the one area where we have control, where we can sharpen our edge. And
Absolutely.
I made that shift. It was a simple shift. I just plugged in a 15-minute buffer in between meetings, and then the perception changed almost immediately. Like there was this perception that she's always there, she's always on time, she's always early. We can count on her. And it was just that little thing. So I can relate 1,000% to that for sure.
And I'm glad you pointed out that it's in your control, because so much of business etiquette is 100% in your control. How you present yourself, what you wear, how you show up, how you prepare, how you follow up. All of those things are 100% within your control. And for me, that makes my work life so much easier, knowing that I can have so many of those things under my control, so that when something comes in as a zinger that I don't have any control over, I am much better equipped to deal with it.
Yeah, it's a great one. Thank you. So the next is a two-part question.
Okay.
Liz, what do you love the most about your work, and what do you like the least about your work? Because I know you love your work, and it shows.
The thing I like the most about my work is what I'm best at, which is content creation and delivery. I love preparing for public speaking events. I love preparing for trainings, and down to the last little detail. I really do enjoy that. I have also picked up some one-on-one consulting clients, and I enjoy doing a sort of a deep dive into who they are and what do they really want to get out of this, and how can I make this of most value to them. So that's the part that I really enjoy: creating the content, delivering the content, getting that feedback, seeing that the information that I'm sharing is valuable. And I also like for people to have fun with it. I think sometimes when you hear etiquette or business etiquette, you think stuffy and formal and, oh my gosh, I don't want to say the wrong thing in front of her. And that's not it at all. It's really about helping people to either learn new if they didn't know, and there's nothing wrong with that, learn new or enhance existing skills so they can gain confidence. And when you gain confidence, you are likely to be more successful. So it's all a very positive thing. I don't rap people on the knuckles when they use the wrong fork or anything like that. And
I love, I've been witness to it. So you have trainings on networking, on office professionalism, what to say, what not to say, job interviewing. And you also, you have a great course on business meals, and a new one called Zoom Etiquette, which I've heard a couple of tips, which are just excellent.
Zoom Etiquette, I came up with, hopefully no one else has coined that term, I'm calling it mine. And whatever we are going to call normal, once we're all vaccinated and we're past whenever that is going to be, I think that calls like this, Zoom calls, are going to stick around for a couple of reasons. One, you can easily have people in various parts of the country participate in the same meeting, in the same platform. There are certain advantages to having some things being in person, of course, and I look forward to going back to a lot of that. But there are other things where you really can accomplish a lot over a platform like Zoom. But it's important to pay attention to all those little details that make you successful and make your impact successful on Zoom. So that's what Zoom Etiquette is about. It's everything from what's behind me here? Are there any books that maybe shouldn't be there? And what is your lighting like? And you don't have to spend a lot of money to look good on Zoom. And then how you are conducting yourself, how how you do you physically raise your hand? Do you use the raise your hand button? Do you use the chat feature? Decide all of those things before you're going into your meeting. And maybe I'm going down a bit of a rabbit hole here, and then treating those Zoom meetings like you would an in-person meeting with the agenda. You arrive on time. There's accountability. There are all of those things. There's the follow-up. And I want people to understand that people right now are still forgiving of mistakes that we're making on Zoom and other platforms like this. But once it's fully embraced and normalcy, whatever we're calling that, has returned and we're still using this, I think people will be less forgiving. So now is a great time to practice, to make those mistakes, to learn from those mistakes so that when the world is not as forgiving, you'll be in a good place for it.
Yes, well said. The new normal. So it's clear that you love your work. I've heard that from many, many, many people who have had the privilege of working with you in one of your trainings or one-to-one.
Thank you.
So is there anything you don't like, or what do you like least?
What I like least is one of the most important parts of my work. As I said, I love the content creation and I love the content delivery, but to get the clients to create content for and deliver content to, you have to do the sales side of things. And that's the part that I'm never comfortable with. And I don't know that I ever will be. I worked for years in hotel sales and catering convention services. I raised money for nonprofits. And while I think I was good at it, I was told I was good at it, I was never fully comfortable with it. And it's no different when you're trying to sell your own business. So that's the one part. If I could snap my fingers and have all of that part done for me, I would be really happy.
And you are not alone. So this next question, I'm really anxious to hear your answer to. When did you realize that you knew what the great work of your life would be? Did you have an aha moment, or did you just come about? What are your thoughts?
Well, I did have an aha moment, but it also evolved naturally. I had a very formal and structured upbringing. So, for example, I was not taken out to eat anywhere until my mother knew that I knew what to do at the table. There was not going to be any embarrassment in her family out in a restaurant. And so while as a child that may have seemed a little, why do I have to do this? As I grew up, I greatly appreciated it. And my aha moment really happened, I'm not sure exactly how many years ago. It's probably been 3 or 4 years ago that I had volunteered to go and do a mock interview and job readiness session at one of our state prisons here in Virginia. And it was for a group of gentlemen who were going to be released anywhere from, I think it was between 12 and 18 months. And so this was a pod, if you will, within the prison where they were trying to bring people in and help these guys prepare to go back out into society and be productive, because you want that for them and you want that for society as well. And I had done a series of those trainings when I lived in Lynchburg many years ago. And so I volunteered and I went, and I've told the story a lot. There were probably 40 guys in the group, and there were 10 who sat and didn't really say anything. They sat. I guess listening to me was more exciting than being in their room. I don't know. But so they sat. Another 20, you could see heads nodding and, okay, that makes sense. All right, that's a good tip. And then the final 10 were really into it, and they were asking questions, and they wanted to volunteer to do the mock interviews, and they were critiquing and they were being critiqued. And I could tell they were really absorbing the information and understood how it would help them when they were released and were then going on job interviews. And when I was leaving, I was thinking, this be fun to just do this. I feel good about how I spent the last 3 hours of my day. And when I got home, I put a post on Facebook that said something to the effect of, spent 2 hours down at Sussex 2 doing this workforce training and enjoyed every minute. Thanks so much for a lovely time, something to that effect. And a friend emailed me and said, you can do that for a job. And I said, oh, tell me more. I need to learn how I can do this for a job. And sure enough, and then that evolved into, all right, what sort of credentials do I need other than I know what I'm talking about? And that led me to the Protocol School of Washington, which led me through that course, which is something I wanted to do before I actually launched the business. So that was the very last thing that I did prior to actually launching, which was about 2.5 years ago. So it was a journey, a process, but there was that aha moment when I thought, this is what I want to do. I like this, and I like seeing how this practical information is of value to people and can really impact their lives.
Great story, Liz. Thank you. I've seen and heard you in action, and when you get going, it's just kind of part of you. It's just part of who you are. Do you ever have doubts, or as we like to say, any freak out moments about the great work of your life? And can you give us an example?
Of course, we all have those freak out moments. In fact, I learned a long time ago. I used to work in television. I was a reporter and anchor and weather anchor at an ABC affiliate here in Virginia. And while it was always fun when viewers would write in or call in and say something was great, there were also those viewers who would write in and call in and say, her hair looked awful, or why did she wear that outfit? So I learned a long time ago that while the good comments are wonderful, don't pay too much attention to any of them. That said, I do ask for information, or for feedback rather, after I do any kind of an engagement. And it's in the form of a survey. And I'm not asking people to rate me, but I ask things like, what 3 things did you learn new or have your knowledge of enhanced? What did you like about the content? What would you change? Things like that. So I can really get good feedback from them. And I had spoken to a national group a couple of weeks ago, and they did their own survey. And the vast majority of the people from my session had wonderful comments. And one person had some not so nice comments. And that was the one I zeroed in on, of course. And I had to remind myself, no, stop. Do not freak out over this, because there are going to be people who like you and there are going to be people who don't. But it's not always about you. It could be where they are in their life at that moment. It didn't resonate with them, or any number of reasons. So those would be my freak out moments. Just when I think, I didn't reach that person. What did I do wrong? And then when I back up from that and think, okay, I presented this the way I felt was correct. I felt that I was engaging with the audience, and clearly because of the other comments, I did engage. I didn't reach that one person. So take what they say, but so personally. So those would be the freak out moments. Just I want everybody to like what I present, because I want them to think that they've gotten value out of it. And I guess it hurts me a little bit when they don't, if somebody doesn't. So those would be the freak outs. But
yeah,
I'm trying
makes
to
sense.
control them.
So a piggyback question to that is, how do you define success?
How I just said, I think that when I engage with either an individual or a group of 10 or a group of hundreds, when I see that the information that I'm sharing with them, they are finding value in it. They're learning something. They're seeing how it's going to apply to their life, how it can enhance their professional life, how it can boost their confidence, how it can increase their success. So that's what I really like seeing. I like seeing an audience, or whether that audience, again, is large or small or one person, that they are finding value in this information that I grew up with and have studied my whole life and love sharing, and to see people respond well to that and to enjoy it. I want people to enjoy this process of learning about various aspects of etiquette.
Definitely. And you mentioned your background's really fascinating. You mentioned growing up with it. You've studied it. You've been drawn to the hospitality sector. You've been in mass communications. You've been on camera. If you had to do it all over again, would it look any different, and why?
I don't know that it would. I thought about this earlier today. Everything we do gets us to where we are. The the things that we do right, the things that we may do wrong. And I was talking to a friend a few days ago, and we've known each other for close to 30 years, and we've been good friends. And we were talking about back in our 20s, back in the 80s, when something would just seem like the biggest problem in the world. And once you get some distance from it and you get some depth of life experience, you realize, it was really not that bad at all. And it might actually have been something that helped me to become who I am today. So I'd like to think that I really wouldn't change much. The one thing that always does stand out in my mind is my wedding reception, which overall I would not change. I'd marry the same guy. I've kept him, he's kept me. But I became vegetarian about 2 years into our marriage, and we served filet mignon at our reception. And that is the one thing, if I could go back in time and change, I would have a vegetarian entree at my wedding reception. That may be the only thing I would change.
If that is your only regret, I love it. 10,000 hours, superpower. You and I talked a little bit offline about this type of thing, relationship to movies. And we were for movies to watch, during the COVID, keep our attention, things aren't too heavy, maybe a little bit light. On this wonderful light program on Netflix called The Movies That Made Us. Oh. And I watched a show about John Hughes, who is a writer. He considers himself to be a writer. And we were watching, my husband and I watching this show, The Movies That Made Us, because John Hughes wrote Home Alone. So we're around the holidays now. And then when I went and looked at his pedigree, he is absolutely a writer. I mean, The Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, 16 Candles, Planes, Trains, Automobiles, Pretty in Pink, Uncle Buck with the late John Candy, Weird Science, it goes on and on.
Great movies, all of them.
Yes. And in the show, they interviewed other people, and they said the late John Hughes, his superpower was writing. He would hold himself up in a hotel room for 3 or 4 days, and he would come out on the other side with a full-length screenplay. Loved writing. It was just who he was. So I see your superpower because etiquette is, I think it's woven through the fabric of your life and your career. Where do you feel you've spent 10,000 hours honing your superpower? Like, what is your superpower, do you think?
It's hard to think about 10,000 hours on anything, but when you add it up over a lifetime, certainly that works. I like to write, and while I am not John Hughes, I do get into sort of the zone, I call it. And when I am writing, anything can be going on around me, and I'm not even going to notice it. I'm laser focused, rather zeroed in on what it is that I am writing. And I like it when I get it to a point where I look at it and say, that's done and that's good. Sometimes it takes longer to get to that point. I can be frustrated, and I can really just agonize over a sentence for a while or a word, and I will pull down the thesaurus that's up here behind me, a real thesaurus to flip through. I don't use the online version until I find just the right word. So I think writing certainly is one of those things that I work at. And I'm not content until it is in a form that I can say, yes, that's good. I am ready to share that. So if I've spent 10,000 hours on anything in my life, it's writing and working on that, because I've used that throughout my career. When I was writing proposals, for example, in the nonprofit world, when I was writing scripts and stories for TV news, when I create content for the courses that I teach now and the speeches that I deliver, it's always about writing, whether it is for the written word or for the spoken word. So writing would be what I have spent the most time on, but I like it. So it's not, oh my gosh, I really spent that much time on writing. No, it's, oh my gosh, I love that I've spent that much time on writing.
Yeah,
it's really the basis for everything.
Definitely. Yeah. And it's, you mentioned content creation. You are masterful at creating and delivering content in a way that
Thank you.
is practical and fun. The Winning Wednesday is a perfect example. I look forward to them every Wednesday. Can't wait.
I love those. I really do. I'll get an idea. Sometimes I'll be reading the paper and something will pop out and I'll think, all right, that's going to make a good Winning Wednesday. And I sit down and my husband always is amazed that I just do it in a take. And I have a conversation. I look at that like I'm doing right now, that little teeny red square that I have up on my laptop. So I know where to look to be looking into the camera. And I have a short conversation. And it's fun. It's fun. I enjoy those. So thank you for saying a nice thing about Winning Wednesday.
So is there anything you wish you were better at?
Oh, wow. I'd like to be better at a lot of things. I'd like to be better at getting up early in the morning. I'd like to be better at cleaning my house. Like anything I'd really like to be better at. I'd like to be more organized. I am organized, but not as much as I would really like to be. I do struggle with finding an organization system, for example, to combine paper and electronic records. I'm very much a paper person. I have a paper calendar, I have paper files, but I also have email files and internet files and flash drives and the cloud. And, they're all of those things that I wish I were better at corralling all of that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. It sounds like a business opportunity, actually.
If somebody could do that for me.
We like to use yellow lined notepads. We still like to, handwrite.
I love that. Yes.
Yeah, indeed. So I love this question. This is probably my favorite question of all. When I talk with folks, it's always interesting to see the outcome. So what do you know about yourself, Liz, to be absolutely true?
About myself to be absolutely 100% true would be that I am loyal and you can trust me. You can trust me if you are my friend to keep a secret. You can trust me to give you my honest opinion on something. I'm not necessarily going to be brutally honest and hurt someone's feelings. I will find a way around that. But you can count on me to be honest, and you can count on me to be loyal. If you are my friend, you are my friend, and that's it. And I value that because I value that in other people. And I can remember growing up, my mother instilled in me that, you should always tell the truth, even if it's difficult. Because once you start making up stories, you're never going to keep those straight in your head. But if you tell the truth, you will always remember that. For good or for bad, tell the truth, because it affects your reputation. And I want to be one who is known for being loyal and truthful and honest. And I can 100% say that is who I am.
Brilliant. Love it. Is there anything that people would be surprised to know about you?
I had to answer this question for someone else. And yes, and I'm going to sound a little bit vain when I say it, but I get a real kick out of getting carded for wine at the grocery. And it wasn't happening before. I mean, it had been a long time. And then when we started wearing masks, I thought, clearly something is being hidden, with this mask, because over the past however many months that we've been in masks, 8-9 months now, it's happened to me probably 3 or 4 times. And I thought, there's something to this. I'm really liking it. Maybe I'll continue to wear a mask even when I don't have to anymore. But no, that's just one of those little quirky, weird, vain things that kind of gives me a little thrill.
Love it. Excellent. So we need your advice, Liz.
Okay.
You are the hashtag ambassador of civility. You are the business etiquette expert. You are the SME in this genre. Is there a book that inspired you to behave or think differently, or a quote that you could share with us that inspires you?
Yes, all of that. So I'll start with the quote. It is by Beatrix Potter of Peter Rabbit fame. And she said, "We must present ourselves to the world and look upon it as an adventure." So we must present ourselves to the world and look upon it as an adventure. And I am motivated by that. I haven't had to do networking since the pandemic lockdown, but I am not a natural networker. I said when I if you put me in the middle of a cocktail party, I'm not going to be the happy girl who can just chat everybody up. But if I follow my plan, I can do it. I developed a plan that any introvert or extrovert can follow and be successful at networking. So I like to think of that quote. I'm looking upon this as an adventure. This is an evening where I know I have to go to the Chamber of Commerce mixer, and there are these people there that I'd like to talk to because maybe I can help them with something or they can help me with something. So having that, I like. And also, remember when I said I hate it when somebody doesn't like something about what I have presented? Well, it's always going to be an adventure because going into it, out of any audience, 100% of them are not going to think that you are the greatest thing in the world. But go out there, do your best. It's an adventure. So that I love. So Beatrix Potter, we must present ourselves to the world and look upon it as an adventure.
That sentiment really does shine through on your website for folks who are listening or watching. It is www.lizbryantbusinessetiquette.com, and right on the homepage of the website there is a quote that it sort of harkens from the halls of Beatrix Potter. And it says, "The art of opening doors and building relationships and having fun doing it."
Right,
is what etiquette is all about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I can't stress that enough, that are there rules? Of course there are, because you have to have rules to operate in civil society. But it's not about pushing rules on people. It's about helping people incorporate those rules into their daily life and into their personalities so that it is fun. And then it's fun to lead by example, to help others see that. I tell people a lot that the difference between etiquette and manners is proper etiquette is knowing which fork to use, but good manners is not pointing out when someone else doesn't know. So you can lead by example.
Well said. Well said. Definitely. How about a book? Can you share a book or two?
I can. I will actually share two. One that I love is this one. It's called Treating People Well. And I don't know if you're seeing this in a mirror image or if you're actually seeing it like you're supposed to.
Yes.
It's called Treating People Well, The Extraordinary Power of Civility in Work and in Life. And it's written by two former White House social secretaries, Leah Berman, who worked for George Bush, and Jeremy Bernard, who worked for Barack Obama. And a dear friend gave me this book. We had lunch together one day, and she had seen it somewhere, and I wasn't familiar with it. And a few days later, I got this Amazon package, and this book was in it. And it was from Diane, and with a lovely little note. And I thought, that's perfect. And that's the perfect way to give a book like this. But they talk about things like radiating calm, handling conflict diplomatically, the gift of loyalty, own your mistakes, all of these things. And they illustrate these points through experiences that they had at the White House. And I loved learning more about some of the inner workings of the White House. And I appreciate the fact that two people from different political parties can come together and they can write a book about civility. That is powerful, and that really says something. And it's just a fabulous book. I've given it to many people. I will continue to give it to people just because I like it so much. And it really sets a good example. I think that another part of your question was a book that had changed my thinking on something, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this one goes in a totally different direction. And it's a book by an author named Beth Macy, and it's called Dope Sick. And it's a sad book. It's about primarily Southwest Virginia and the opioid epidemic. And what changed my thinking on this, Beth has written a couple of books, and I had the opportunity to sit with her at a breakfast where this book was featured about a year ago. And I'd read parts of the book, but it's going to be turned into a limited miniseries. And I thought, all right, I want to read the whole thing all the way through before this comes out. And it really opened my eyes because she puts a real face, multiple faces on addiction, told from the aspect of the addicted person to the people who love the addicted person to the people who are trying to help the addicted person, that it really is a disease, and it is it's not something that you can just get over. She cited a statistic toward the end of the book that, and I'm not going to get it right, but it was to overcome one of these addictions or to be able to deal with it properly, it's going to take multiple times in rehab over a period of years. It's not just, okay, I'm going to pop into rehab for 28 days and I'm going to come out and I'm going to be fine. It's not like that. You really do have a powerful hold over people. And I never really realized that. Not that I looked down on them, but it was always sort of in my head that, well, just don't take them anymore. You might feel bad for a while, but I never really understood how you can go from, because you have a toothache to buying heroin on the street. But that happens, and it happens far too often. And it changed my thinking about how we look at people who are addicted and how we deal with the problem of addiction. So it was an eye-opener, totally not related to etiquette or business etiquette at all, but just how we think of other people and how we think of their challenges. And again, it was an eye-opener, and I'm glad I read it.
Yes, and it underscores your belief system that you are all about instilling respect for oneself and others. Mm-hmm. It sounds like you have a newfound belief system. It's changed the way you think. I
do. I now, from reading this book, again, Beth Macy is the author. She, by putting the faces on it that she did, she at least got across to me that, yes, this is a disease. This is not a moral failing. It is none of that. This is something that we need to treat as a health crisis and not judge people in the process.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's a really good one. I'm going to pick that one up for sure. So last question. This is the bonus question. And it's a fill in the blank question. Okay. If God would let me, I would. And God could be whatever you deem it to be. Okay. So how would you respond?
So if I could do anything, do absolutely anything, wow. I'd like to say, I'm the person who would snap my fingers and we'd have world peace. I mean, things like that are important. But I guess when I think of this question, I think more about what I would do that would be something just kind of fun and out of the ordinary that I would want to be able to do. What would I do if I could? That's a tough one. What would I do if I could do anything? I guess if I could do anything, I would want to work on or be better at or be really good at those areas that we talked about that I'm not good at. If I could snap my fingers and be great at sales, I would do that in a heartbeat. If I could snap my fingers and be able to go to a networking event and really say that I enjoy it without having to really prepare for it the way I do, and be able to do those sorts of things and feel good about it. That's what I would do. So do I want to solve the problems of the world? Absolutely. And all of those things are very worthy, but looking a little bit closer to home, that's what I would do. I'd work on me.